Hey everyone, it's great to connect with you again today. I want to remind you that Sunday will be outdoors at 8:45, indoors and streaming at 11. In both services, I'll be talking about the myth that makes us marooned from Joshua 7. Also this Sunday, Kevin and Cindy Austin, missionaries we support in the Czech Republic, will be here sharing a brief word in the worship services and giving a fuller presentation during the Sunday school hour in the gym at 9:45. I also want you to be aware that we're hosting a fall harvest drive-through event on Saturday, October 30th from 10 a.m. to noon. If you could donate a bag of candy or pretzels, things like that, that would be helpful. We need the donations by Monday. It's fascinating to me how Paul writes such different kinds of letters. Romans has the feel of a theological treatise. Philippians has the feel of a letter you write to a close friend. Galatians is confrontational. Timothy is encouraging. And then there's a short letter Paul writes to Philemon. The letter to Philemon focuses on a slave who ran away from Philemon to Rome, encountered Paul, and was transformed by the grace of Jesus. Paul writes this letter to ask Philemon to forgive Onesimus and to set him free so that he can stay and help Paul in his life and ministry. In the beginning section of the letter, Paul writes, "You, dear brother, have refreshed the hearts of the Lord's people." What an interesting thing for Paul to say, and an interesting way for him to say it. Philemon, you are a presence of refreshing. You're a presence that lifts the spirits of people around you. People are glad when you show up. People are happy when they see you and engage with you. So I wonder if we tend to overlook these words of Paul because we underestimate the importance of refreshing others. Not that we think it's wrong, it just doesn't seem central, not as significant as other things. As someone has said, we tend to think of it in the same category as remembering to send your grandmother a birthday card. I mean, it's nice to squeeze it in between the big important stuff, but it doesn't seem to be the big important stuff. And yet Paul seems to view it a very different way. I read something recently about the people on the sidelines of a football game whose sole job is to squirt Gatorade or water into the players' mouths. I've always thought that was a strange job. Do you get paid for that? Is it hygienic to do that? Does it really help that much? I don't know the answers to those questions, but it must help or they wouldn't keep doing it. And the people doing it must assume that it helps or they would stop doing it. Somehow, it must play a role in quenching the thirst and restoring the electrolytes of those who are on the field playing the game. I've watched a lot of football games in my life. I've seen players identified, coaches identified, referees identified, owners identified. I've never once heard one single Gatorade squirter identified. I'm not sure that I've ever even heard them acknowledged. And yet, there they are, every game, running to the players with bottles of refreshment. It reminds me that we all have different gifts and different ministries. Some of our ministries are visible and easily attract attention. Some of our ministries are less visible and attract minimal attention. And some of our ministries are invisible and attract virtually no attention. But as Paul writes to the Corinthians, the point of our service to Christ and to others is not how much we're recognized, but how faithful we are to our calling. Because when Jesus ushers in his kingdom and all is made clear, you get the feeling that this might be one of those places where we see the fulfillment of Jesus' promise, that the first shall be last and the last shall be first. And if you want to be first, be the servant of all. I think it might be more important than we realize. Being with people in their pain. Not necessarily saying anything or providing any answers, just being present. Taking time to communicate words of encouragement and support, an email, a text, a card, a prayer, reminding others that they are remembered and that God is with them. A smile. An attitude that lifts the spirits of the weary and gives them hope to trust Jesus another day. And that's ultimately where all of this talk about refreshing comes from and is leading to Jesus. We love others as representatives of Jesus, who is love. We shoulder the burdens of others as representatives of Jesus, who bore the burdens of all people. Like everything else about our journey, it's always, always, always about Jesus. And that's why serving is not so much a responsibility as a privilege. That we get the privilege of bearing the image of Jesus, of being the refreshing presence of Jesus, of bringing love and grace and mercy and kindness of Jesus to people in need. Father, thank you for the privilege of being agents of refreshing. Open our eyes to people in need and open our hearts to represent you. May our presence be your presence. Amen. Thanks again for joining me. Have a wonderful day.